Cities are where most people in this world live. They're only growing, and creating solutions that create better environments, better economies, and better climate solutions in our cities are really critical. We're actually salvaging material that comes from trees that reach their end of life, that were impacted by disease, so different pests, that cause them to die early, that are impacted by disasters, think hurricanes, storm damage, that kind of thing, or by new development. What are they going to do with it? They're going to cut it into small sections, then they're going to put it through a wood chipper, and you're going to get these little pieces of wood that you're going to spread out, on the ground. And from a carbon perspective, what that actually looks like is you're pretty much making it as efficient as possible for that wood to off-gas and turn into methane. When you look at the 36 million trees that fall down in and around cities every year, the 46 million tons of material that come out of that waste stream, there's this completely overlooked opportunity to turn that into a really valuable product. You have a tree that's alive in a city that is coming down for some reason. Let's say in this case, we're building a new development. We're going to work with the city who's involved in tree management, and then we'll also work with the developer to take a tree and instead of mulching it on site or sending it to sort of a burn pile, instead actually take that log and send it to a local processor. So we have about 220 different local processors across the country within our manufacturing network. Once that log actually reaches the local processor, it's inventoried and it's tracked within the trace system, is cut into boards, it's dried, and then it's going to go to a secondary processor. So our whole goal is to really try to keep these things as local as possible. So trying to reduce those transportation emissions so that wood will then be turned into a table, and then that table will ultimately be shipped to an end customer. We then take a percentage of those profits and we reinvest it into new local trees from the place where that tree actually came down. So we're creating, sort of a full cycle circular model. We kind of have this mechanism from the 2000s for forestry where we have a third party stamping and saying, hey, this was sourced sustainably. But nobody actually knows where it came from. Nobody can tell you what log, that board came from. No one can tell you which tree that log came from. There's no visibility. There's lots of corruption. There's tons and tons of, articles showing about how there's gaps in that process. And it's way better than having nothing. It was a great step forward. But the next step forward is real chain of custody. And so that's what we're actually building, is the data layer and the infrastructure to have that chain of custody, which then allows you to understand really dynamically what is the actual carbon impact of each piece of material. Because as we know, not all trees are created equal, not all boards and the carbon impacts of every manufacturing process, they're all very different. The market is really fragmented and there's lots of different steps. Fundamentally, what we have to do as a company is we have to connect source material, so those trees coming down, processors, people who could take that waste stream and use it to turn it into something durable, and connect that ultimately to demand. So big builders, furniture companies, people who are going to buy carbon smart wood. There are a bunch of different players at each of those steps, and they've never been connected sort of effectively across the supply chain. And that's really what our technology does. And that's where the innovation comes, is being able to actually fully connect and provide that data and full chain of custody transparency to the ultimate buyer. But really, the key solution is stitching all of those components together. We've worked with cities across the country. We've worked with New York City parks to evaluate what's happening with all of the trees in New York City and the amount of trees that come down, how they can be building a better, more sustainable system for reuse. We've worked with Eugene. We're very actively working in Colorado right now. So there is traction that's really happening, and there's also friction. And when you try to change a system of how you source material, the system pushes back. And so we're really working on continuing to move through that, and we're seeing bigger and bigger demand every day.